today. Let me open by offering the Iba. Open ni fún Ọlọ́run, Olodumare ọba Ejiki, Moji lónìí, mo ogun mẹ́rin ayé, Iba Ila Orun, Iba Iwo Orun, Iba Ariwa, Iba Gosu, Iba Oba Egba Aye, Iba Orun, okay, Iba Baba, Iba Yeye, Iba Atiwo, Orun, Iba She Gungun Kiki Gungun, Iba She Ori, Ori Ino, Pori Atiwo, Orun, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. All right, this week on our live stream, we are going to do a brief reading from Iwori Meji. All right, and I'm going to read essay number 9 from the Iwe fun Odu Ifa. And it reads, the hands of children cannot reach the altar, while those of the elders cannot enter the gourd. The errands that children can send the elders, let them refuse not. For there are assignments which fathers ought to carry out for their children. These were Ifa's messages to Orunmila when his disciples dragged him to the court of Olodumare. Orunmila defended that he tried all that he could, but Akpo's destiny could not respond. The word Akpo means student or assistant. That each time he took Akapo's ebo to Iwaru, it was another person's image that appeared and received the blessing. Olodumare then decreed that human beings should never judge based on one side only. Those who do this are irresponsible. Those who do this are unworthy of being leaders. When you have not listened to the other side, why did you pronounce judgment? All right, this essay is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. All right, it does not need any interpretation. The first portion of the essay speaks of the roles of both the youth as well as the elder, explaining that they both have obligations and responsibilities. And in the execution of their due responsibilities, they must work together in order to be able to function effectively. The second part of the essay speaks about Orunmila performing ebo on behalf of one of his students. And he explained that each time that the ebo was offered, the blessings went to someone else. All right, let me just talk about that a little bit. The idea of Ebo is that the individual who is responsible for having Ebo performed must be the individual who is making the sacrifices. Sacrifices does not only come in the form of the articles that are being offered. Sometimes the sacrifice that one has to make has a lot to do with the individual's character. It has a lot to do with the person's willingness to sacrifice, maybe an attitude, a behavior, or a mentality. And if this is not done, then the reward would obviously elude the individual. But in some cases where others are involved and they are willing to make adjustment, changes, and sometimes even aid or supply the person with some of the things they need, they end up being the ones receiving the blessing of hearing. All right? And the very last part of this essay from Iwori Meji speaks about entering into judgment. Again, this entire essay is very clear and it's entitled Listening to Both Sides of the Judgment. It explains that any person who enter into judgment without being fully informed of all of the details, all of the perspectives of a situation, is not mature enough, is not responsible enough, and should not be in a position where they are responsible for being an example to other people. Because when we talk about leadership, we are talking about a person who should have the type of characteristics that the people around them should be willing to follow. Because as long as you're talking about a leader, then you're also talking about followers. And any person that is responsible and worthy of being ahead of everyone else, meaning setting the tone, setting the example, must be a responsible person, and they must show their worth or their worthiness by exercising good judgment. In order to exercise that good judgment, they must listen to all sides of a situation before entering into any sort of judgment. This is not my opinion. This is what Ifa teaches. This is what I just read in Iwori Meji. All right, I'm going to read it once more and close off. The hands of children cannot reach the altar, while those of the elders cannot enter the gourd. The errands that children can send the elders on, let them refuse not. For there are assignments which fathers ought to carry out for their children. These were Ifa's messages to Orunmila. When his disciple dragged him to the court of Olodumare, Orunmila defended that he tried all that he could, but Akpo's destiny could not respond. That each time he took Akpo's Ebo to Iwaru, it was another person's image that appeared and received the blessing. Olodumare then decreed that human beings should never judge based on one side only. Those who do this are irresponsible. Those who do this are unworthy of being leaders. When you have not listened to the other side, why did you pronounce judgment? So in the case of the person who were having the ebors performed, the adjustment that they had to make to their character is to learn to be fair, to be responsible, and to be a worthy leader by not entering into judgment without adequate information. All right, and with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining us, and that is basically the lesson for today. As usual, my words of admonition is: you do good for yourself. You do bad for yourself. So you are always encouraged to do good so that you will receive the good rewards, and also so that your offsprings may also receive the blessings of Ire. All right? And with that, I would like to say, Odabo, and see you on Friday for the History Live.